I've been talking with my family about doing an exchange for years. My parents are originally from Colombia,
Mhm.
so I've grown up traveling everywhere. We've talked about the benefits of being able to live in a new culture. So my mother, literally doing a Google search, just found the CBYX program.
Yeah.
And she's like, I think my daughter would like this. And showed me. And I was
Yeah.
like, yes, this is actually perfect for me.
Mhm.
I thought this would be such a great experience. Plus it's a scholarship, so it's fully paid,
Mhm.
which is wonderful.
Mhm.
And I ended up doing the whole application process 2 months before it was supposed to be sent in. And I turned it in the day before it was due.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. Oh, it was very hectic. I remember staying up late at night, finishing these essays,
Mhm.
trying to get everything done, getting the recommendation letters.
Mhm.
But I was so grateful and so happy when I did finally turn it in.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Life Exchange Stories of Understanding. I am your host, Kelsey Ross, and today we are joined by a wonderful guest. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell people who you are?
My name is Gabriela. I am a student with the YFU CBYX program. I'm from Iowa. I'm from a small town called Bondurant, and I'm currently placed in a small town of Landshut down in Bavaria, in Germany.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here today and talking to me.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, so let's begin. Small town in Iowa. I'm assuming not too many people from that small town in Iowa go on exchange, let alone go on it in high school. How did you
No.
first come up with this idea? How did that work?
So I've been talking with my family about doing an exchange for years. My parents are originally from Colombia.
Mhm.
So I've grown up traveling everywhere. I have been to Colombia multiple times. I've been to Europe multiple times, never Germany. So this was a great new experience.
Mhm.
But we've talked about the benefits of being able to live in a new culture. I've been able to see these different cultures, but to live it is a completely different experience. So my mother, literally doing a Google search, just found the CBYX program.
Yeah.
And she's like, I think my daughter would like this. And showed me. And I was
Yeah.
like, yes, this is actually perfect for me. I thought this described me perfectly.
Mhm.
I thought this would be such a great experience. Plus it's a scholarship, so it's fully paid,
Mhm.
which is wonderful.
Mhm.
And I ended up doing the whole application process 2 months before it was supposed to be sent in. And I turned it in the day before it was due.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. Oh, it was very hectic. I remember staying up late at night, finishing these essays,
Mhm.
trying to get everything done, getting the recommendation letters.
Mhm.
But I was so grateful and so happy when I did finally turn it in.
That's awesome. I've heard from a few of the CBYX scholars. It's a pretty intense application process. Not so much like
It is.
emotionally, but there's a lot to do. So there were essays and you had to get letters of recommendation. What all did you have to do to apply for this?
So obviously they asked us a bunch of personal questions, just
Mhm.
getting to know us. But yes, we had to do, I think, between 4 to 5 essays.
Mhm.
Just so they could see how we thought as a person, how we responded to certain situations. I had to get 2 letters of recommendation, and obviously they couldn't be my parents because they were biased. Um, I had to do a bunch of, if I'm not wrong, a bunch of different skill sets that I had.
Mhm.
Awards I've won in school, activities I've done, obviously if I've gotten in trouble, which I have not, and anything that would make me a good student.
Mhm.
And that was only part one. After I came through as a semi-finalist, I
Mhm.
had to do another part of the application process, which was now more permission forms, medical forms.
Mhm.
I think it was 1 a.m. and my dad and we sat down and read like 20 different forms to sign,
Wow.
giving me permission to do things, my personal things, so hobbies, things I like to do, and send all that in after I became my semi-finalist. And then it was, if I'm not wrong, then it was the interview process, which I actually did while I was in Bolivia, which was very
Whoa.
funny. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's
Hmm.
cool. Generally, I'm sure as you're aware, American students don't tend to go on exchange in high school. That's usually more of something they save for college. So why do it in high school?
So funny enough, I actually graduated a year early.
Okay, work.
So, so again, my parents have always taught me to just be on top of things at all times.
Yeah.
be very dedicated with what you want to do. And
Mhm.
so ever since I started high school, I known that I wanted to have all my credits done in the first 3 years so that
Yeah.
my senior year, I have it empty because
Mhm.
we known in high school is when I should do my exchange.
Yeah.
Because in college, that's when I'm starting to trying to start my life, trying to focus on what I want to do. So by the time I hit my 3 year mark, I had all the credits I needed to graduate. So I actually ended up deciding to graduate 2 months before graduation because I got accepted into this program and I
Yeah.
wasn't sure if my credits would transfer. And I was like, I'm not gonna come back to another year of high school when I know I can graduate right now.
Yeah.
So in 2 months, I finished everything to graduate.
Wow. My
Yeah,
gosh.
it was very hectic because
Yeah.
I took AP classes. I took advanced placement classes. So I was doing 3 at the time. So I was studying for those tests. And on top of that, I was studying for the ACT because I took the ACT before I came.
Oh my gosh. I mean, that is a tremendous amount to put on somebody on yourself.
Yeah.
How did you stay humble and grounded through all of that?
I mean, honestly, I guess it's just the way I was raised with my family. I mean,
Yeah.
they've taught me that if I really want something to work for it,
Yeah.
and growing up, as my parents have said, and when I set my mind to something, I just do it. And I worked hard to get it. And I was very, very happy when I did finally finish everything and I made it here to Germany. And this entire experience has been amazing. So
That's
definitely worth the sleepless nights.
That's amazing. And your parents must be so incredibly proud of you. And you must be so proud of yourself. And if you're not, you should be. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So, from the sounds of it, your parents were really supportive of you going abroad and having an exchange year. How would you say that they supported you during this application process and while you've been abroad? What are some of the things that they do to support you from afar?
I mean, at first, when we first started, my parents would often share their experiences of when they first came to the US
Yeah.
because they understand how it is to live in a new country without really understanding the language.
Yeah.
So they would help me in that sense and kind of help me navigate if I was struggling with anything in there. But other than that, they kind of just let me have my own process as well.
Yeah.
They knew that this was a big deal for me and they knew that this was something that I had to do on my own.
Yeah.
So they were there for me when I needed it
Yeah.
and kind of sometimes pushing me if I needed that little push for something, but also just letting me have my experience. They're like, you do you enjoy it. They let me, for example, with calls, the organization tells you to limit your calls with your parents and they've respected that. They say, you call me and if we can answer, we will, but we won't call you.
Yeah.
That way you tell us when you're available and then you can get the full experience.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
For future study abroad parents who are letting their child go on exchange, they may be hearing the organization suggests that you limit calls with your child while they're overseas. That might set off some alarm bells for some of these parents. So could you explain why that's the way it is?
Yeah. So you want your child to have the full experience. And that's not going to help if you're constantly calling them, reminding them of what they left behind. So if you're constantly calling your child, constantly guilt tripping them into saying, oh, I miss you. We miss you at home. You miss this, something that they're familiar with. That's going to make the transition to living in this new life, adjusting and adapting to this new life a whole lot harder.
Yeah.
So if you sent them on the exchange and you supported them to come on the exchange for the reason that you want them to live that new culture, you won't be helping them if you're not giving them that space to grow with it.
Gotcha. So don't worry, parents. We love you. We support you.
Yeah, we love you. It's all good.
Your support means everything. It's not to limit you, just for your child and their support.
Just let us grow. Yes. Just let us grow.
Deciding to go to Germany, did you have any German language experience beforehand?
I did not. I did not start learning German until at least a month before leaving.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Yeah. So you can imagine my confusion when I first arrived.
Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine what that was like. So,
yeah, I know.
Do you have any other language experience other than like English?
Yeah, so I speak fluent Spanish. My parents being from Colombia, I speak in Spanish at home. And then I have been learning French since I was about 8 years old. It's been kind of on and off.
Yeah.
My French level is about that. I can get around in Paris and France. I can get around fine, ask a couple questions. So learning German was like, yeah, sure, another language. Why not?
Perfect. I'm
right?
curious. I'm very curious. Why not go somewhere to a country that is Spanish or French speaking? Why choose Germany?
So I will admit the original plan was to perfect my French.
Mhm.
However, there was not a scholarship available as it
Gotcha.
is for Germany.
Yeah.
So you do obviously have to think in that sense.
Mhm.
But also it provided a sense to learn something new. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, I could perfect my French, but also I can learn a new language that I could use later on in the future, depending on what I want to do. And
Mhm.
so it's like, this was an opportunity I couldn't miss.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So take me back to that day and that moment you found out you won this scholarship. What was that
God,
like?
that was an embarrassing day. I had literally, seriously, because I had just come home from school
Hmm.
and my dad wasn't home. He was at work
Yeah.
and I was with my sister downstairs and my mom was in a meeting upstairs in her room.
Hmm.
And I was told I would get the news, if I'm not wrong, I think a month later after I actually got it. I think it was supposed to come a month later.
Gotcha.
And I was literally eating lunch when I got the news.
Hmm.
And I gasped so loud I actually ended up choking
Oh my
on my
gosh.
food. Yeah, I started
No.
coughing. Yes. Oh my God. I gasped so loud. I started coughing because I kind of swallowed the food through the wrong pipe. My poor little sister was like, what is wrong with you? But I got so excited. I was like, oh my God, I got in. And I rush upstairs and my mother's in the middle of a meeting. And I just burst in. She's not doing the meeting through a Zoom call. And I burst in and my mom looks angry and she's like, shh, be quiet. We're in a meeting. And I was like, no, like, you gotta stop it. So she like muted herself and I showed her the phone with the message
Mhm.
and she started to freak out. But at the same time, she couldn't really freak out because she was still on camera. So she's like, hold on, let me turn off the camera. And then after she turned off the camera, she started freaking out a bit. She's like, I gotta finish this, but we'll talk after I'm done here. And so I left the room and I called my dad. And I ended up actually kind of freaking out my dad because last he had heard of me, I had gone out to get my mom something from the store.
Yeah.
And I'm crying at this point out of pure joy. And so when I called him, he hears me crying.
Oh no.
So his first thought is I got into an accident or
Oh
something.
no.
So I'm like, no, I got in. And I told him I got into the program.
Yeah.
And he was so happy and my dad was so proud of me. And he was on his way home too, which was great.
Yeah.
My little sister was super chill. She was like, great, you got it. That's great.
Whatever.
I'm happy for
One
you.
less person in the house. Cool.
Yeah, but no, actually no, but I think she has been one of the people that misses me the most. So
Oh.
yeah, I miss her.
Oh, I get that. And I'm glad you're alive, first off. That's
Yeah, I
great.
know.
Well,
I was like, that is going to be an embarrassing, but that was
oh,
actually what happened.
yeah. But what a fantastic story that you'll be able to look back on and when you're talking about your experience later on. Like that is what started this. That's so funny. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. So you found out you got in. How long after that did you find out you had a host family?
I think I found out I had a host family a month before I actually left for Germany.
Okay.
So I was constantly checking my emails, trying to figure out if like, am I missing something or no?
Mhm.
Because I wasn't getting my host family. And
Yeah.
a lot of people were starting to get theirs. A lot of them got them like months before. So I was getting worried. But the moment I finally got my host family, I was just so excited to meet them. And I emailed them right then and there as soon as I got the news. And I was so excited.
That's great. And how did you handle that anxiety of waiting for the host family and not hearing anything?
Well, I mean, now at that point, now that I got accepted, my mind was kind of preoccupied in finishing my studies. So
Fair.
that kind of helped.
Yeah.
But if I'm not wrong, I can't remember if that was after, I think that was after NPDO.
Okay.
And when I went to NPDO, I had met a bunch of the other students.
Mhm.
And not only did I talk to them about getting your host family and all that, but I also joined our little group chat that we have.
Mhm.
So we have a group chat with all the YFU students.
Yeah.
And so where we share our experiences, ask questions and things like that. So I wasn't the only one who didn't have a host family yet.
Yeah.
So knowing that, I wasn't too worried.
That's fair. And that open-mindedness, I'm sure, and just being optimistic and being excited about even just getting accepted was really able to carry you through, which is great. So with your host family, how did you first go about trying to connect with them? You had said you emailed them. So what was that beginning relationship building like for you?
The organization emailed me first, telling me who the host family was, along with their emails. So as soon as I received that, I sent my host mother an email and I used Google Translate. I mentioned it in the email. I was like, I'm so sorry. My German is non-existent at the moment. So I apologize for any mistakes. I think she emailed me back. I think I woke up the next morning with an email from her.
Yeah.
Clearly the time difference.
Yeah.
And they were super sweet. They introduced themselves. I have a host mom, a host dad, and then two younger host sisters who are absolutely wonderful.
Nice.
And yeah, and they introduced themselves. I got the host sisters' emails, and I started emailing them back and forth as well. So I was starting to build that connection with them. And even my parents sent them an email.
Oh, nice.
Introducing themselves, thanking them for hosting me.
Yeah.
Actually, during the application, I was supposed to write a letter to my potential host family, introducing myself.
Yeah.
And my parents actually asked, and I emailed and I asked, my parents want to send a letter themselves. It wasn't a requirement.
Yeah.
But they want to send a letter as well. Is that possible? And they said it was. So my parents wrote an email or a letter for them, and we sent it with the application. So it was funny because when I emailed my host mom at first, I didn't introduce myself too much because I knew they would get my letter and everything that I had written. Yeah. So I said, I'll keep this brief. I'll give you a quick description. And she emailed me back. She goes, oh, we haven't gotten any of that. So I was like, oh, okay, sure. I'll just tell you myself then.
Best laid plans.
Right?
Oh my gosh. That's cool. I love that your parents even wrote a letter to this future host family. That's really unique. I've never heard that before. That's really sweet though.
Yeah.
Your parents sound like very caring and supportive people.
They really are. I love them, and they have obviously taught me everything I know now and are letting me learn on my own as well, which is great. But yeah, they love my host family. They keep in contact. I've scheduled a couple of Zoom meetings before we left. So and my parents and my little sister both all met my host family. And then when I'm here, I've scheduled a couple of meetings so that they can also talk back and forth as well.
Awesome. So you got your host family, you've got your scholarship you've got your scholarship, you've won that. And now it comes time to learning German. How did you do that?
Well, never underestimate Duolingo. That was helpful for the vocabulary.
A very helpful owl.
Yes, clearly. Who is threatening if you don't do your lessons. So
1000%.
But my parents actually helped me find this German teacher through Zoom, and I did classes with her a couple times a week. And every day she would help me learn vocabulary words and certain sentence structures. And it helped a bit. I found more help when Duolingo as well because what I needed was vocabulary, not so much the sentence structures at the time.
Yeah.
So that's where I started getting most of my basic language skills. Yeah. And then I started that a month before I left. And then obviously in August, we had our month-long language camp. Yep. So then we had our classes there and we started learning German there.
Gotcha. You briefly mentioned this thing called NPDO. For those who may not be familiar with the world of YFU, what is that?
So NPDO, it was the pre-departure orientation for anybody who was part of YFU and was going on an exchange. So not only did I meet everybody else who was part of CBYX, but I also met other students who were going to different countries through YFU. It was a chance to kind of explain the process on going to the airport, packing, and depending on the country you were going to, certain cultural differences you might run into. It was just a pretty much a big heads up here for when you go. Gotcha. So, and then there I also met a bunch of the students who I would be traveling with and who would be joining me that month at the language camp.
And what sort of cultural differences did they tell you to potentially expect when you got to Germany?
It ranged from a lot of different things, from greetings to foods. They said certain households might greet people differently. Some may be a little more inviting, others not so much. Yeah. Sometimes there are certain delicacies that you may want to try, others you may not want to try so much, and how to navigate through that. Certain family structures, ways they do things at home. Those little things that you think don't mean that much at that moment, but then when you come to the country, you realize that they do play a big role. Yeah. It basically was just a big heads up for us and be like, hey, just understand some things you're going to have to adapt to, some things you might have to compromise with, and you have to understand how to do that in the most respectful way.
All right. So you finished NPDO, the crash course in life on exchange, and then you make your way to Germany. What was your first impression of Germany when you arrived?
Lots of white houses with particularly red roofs.
Interesting. Okay.
Yes, that was like the first thing I thought because I don't know, I guess that's a way I've always realized different cities and different countries is there's a different form of architecture. And with Germany, the first thing I noticed was the White House with the red roof.
Okay.
And that was the first thing I noticed. But in my head, I was more like, holy crap, we're in Germany. Like, it didn't feel real.
Right.
Wow. I was like, this is insane. I've never been to Germany.
Yeah.
And we landed after a 9-hour flight. So we're exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
That's the least thing. That's the thing on my mind. I'm like, I'm extremely tired.
Yeah.
But again, I've traveled so much that I've gotten used to when I get to a place, I'm ready to go, no matter how tired I am.
Yeah.
So in my mind, I was in work mode at that time.
Got it. Power through,
Yeah.
push, and get that perseverance going. Little off
Yeah.
topic, but still just out of curiosity, since you've traveled so much, where's your favorite place that you've been?
I gotta say Colombia. I mean,
Yeah.
I've been traveling to Colombia, if I'm not wrong, since I was 2 years old. And I wasn't born there, but it's like a second home to me. I love it. I love the culture, the food, my family. I have family members there. So every time we travel there, it's amazing.
That sounds wonderful. And so now back on topic. Were you able to meet your host family right at the airport, or did you have to meet them a little later?
No. So
Okay.
we first arrived to Frankfurt, and from Frankfurt, we went to this city called Göttingen, where we went to this town called Bad Salzka. And we stayed in Bad Salzka from August. We arrived on August 5th until August 1st, I believe.
Oh, wow.
With just the kids in the exchange and a couple of teamers or counselors, as we call them, YFU volunteers.
Yeah.
And we spent the entire month just preparing to live in Germany for the next 9-10 months.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And what was that like? What sort of things did they try to help you prepare for?
It ranged between cultural differences to how to communicate as an exchange student.
Yeah.
So we talked about German politics compared to US politics at one point. We did German life, how Germans live their life. Like they're big on recycling. So we actually did a lot on that. And then also as an exchange student, they're like, especially because we're from the US has a very particular reputation, especially in European countries. So they helped us prepare for how to answer those questions, how to respond to certain stereotypes that we might be faced with in the most respectful way, and to really represent the US in the best way possible. And obviously prepare us for the language. So we had language classes every morning at this nearby boarding school.
Gotcha. And so after that, how long after the language camp were you able to meet your host family during this language camp, or did you have to finish that and then meet them?
No, we finished that and then we actually met our host families in person.
Gotcha.
But I had been texting with my host mother during the language camp as they were preparing for my room here and anything else that I needed. Yeah. So after Göttingen, which is pretty up north in Germany, I traveled on train by myself. At this point, the teamers put us each on our trains that we needed. And I traveled all the way down south to Landshut, where I met my host family then. So,
and what was that like? The first meeting?
Well, the entire train ride, I was very anxious.
Yeah.
Because at that moment, that's when it became real for me. I was like, I am here for 10 months. I'm pretty much here for a year. Yeah. Like for the first time in my life, I feel like I'm completely by myself. Yeah. Like I've gone to sleepovers. I've stayed in places for a couple of nights. I did a summer camp when I was younger. Yeah. But it's different when you're in another country, when you feel that you're by yourself. You have to rely on your knowledge, on your instincts and all that. So I think it hit all at once the moment I got on that train. Besides, I just said goodbye to my language camp friends and we all became very close in that 1 month. Yeah. So the entire ride, I was very anxious. I actually ended up having to call my parents at one point, freaking out. So when I arrived, I was very nervous. I knew my host family, they do thankfully speak English. So I had that comfort when arriving. Yeah. But when they were super sweet, super welcoming, but they could tell that I was very anxious. Yeah. So they were also very, I want to say cautious. They were very careful. They would make sure not to overwhelm me. And we came to the house and they live right next door to my host dad's sister, her husband and her 2 kids, and then my host dad's parents. Oh, wow. So they used to call it a little village in the emails that I sent with them. Yeah. So they let me come up to my room, let me unpack. We came down and had dinner. And then they said, do you want to meet everybody? We want to introduce you. So they took me around. But they never pushed. They never overwhelmed me. If they saw that I needed some space, they would let me have my space. But were very, very sweet about the whole thing.
That's fantastic. And
Yes.
so they were real gentle. They were very
Yes.
slow, letting it take things on your schedule, on your time frame. What are some other ways that host families can help their exchange student to acclimate and feel more comfortable?
Honestly, based on experience and what I've heard, the host family, I think, just needs to understand a little
Hmm.
bit more.
Okay.
I've heard other stories of host families who get a little worried or concerned when the child is quiet or like kind of not as pretty separated from the family.
Yeah.
It's at the moment we're just trying to understand everything. It's very overwhelming
Yeah.
living in a new country, trying to get used to a new schedule,
Hmm.
especially with a new language. That was one of the biggest overwhelming things is the language. I
Hmm.
feel like just host families just need to be a little bit patient, a little understanding. If you see that the child is maybe struggling a bit, ask them if they need anything, but at the same time, just let them have that little space if they need it.
Yeah.
Because that space alone let me kind of recollect my thoughts, take a deep breath, and then
Hmm.
go back out and help them. But in my defense, I also just try to throw myself as much as I could. I was
Yeah.
like, I knew this is a different experience. I knew this was going to be a little weird and a little intense, but I said,
Yeah.
go big or go home. Just go for it.
And that could be a great word of advice for exchange students who are trying to get
Yeah.
acclimated and get used to their new environment, their new scenarios. You finished high school early, and now you're doing another year of high school after you're already graduated. What were some differences that you noticed with German school versus yours in the United States?
Honestly, it's the dedication of students.
Interesting. Okay.
Personally, when I saw the students, that's one of the things I've always criticized
Hmm.
because I personally have always been a very hard worker, very dedicated with school.
Hmm.
Any free time I get, I was studying, reviewing things.
Yeah.
I personally hated study hall because for me, it was a waste of time.
Okay.
So when I arrived and noticed that not only are the schedules different, I really enjoy the fact that it's the teachers who move around instead of the students,
Yeah.
but also the fact that even if the students didn't have class
Hmm.
for any reason, I don't know, the teacher didn't show up
Hmm.
or it just canceled.
Hmm.
Yeah, some students would maybe play on their iPads or do something, but students would actually study. They were actually very dedicated with their work.
Hmm.
The biggest surprise to me was when I saw a classmate do a presentation in my class for the very first time.
Hmm.
Personally, when I've seen kids do presentations, they're very mediocre, a quick slide done in 2-3 minutes.
Yeah.
These students put details into their slides, were over explaining everything, really
Hmm.
taking their time to explain the topic.
Hmm.
Their presentations lasted, I want to say about 5 minutes
Hmm.
or more.
Yeah.
And they would make it fun too, which I really enjoyed.
Ooh, how so?
I remember for one, I think it was an English presentation. I think we were discussing the Renaissance period, or I think it was history. We were discussing the Renaissance period, and the teacher told the students, come up with a presentation with something that represents the Renaissance. Is not probably true, but it shows the Renaissance in some sense. So for
Yeah.
example, one group did Robin Hood, and they brought a toy bow and arrow into class, did a little skit, and had a
Yeah.
kid put on, I think it was a pencil pack on his head, and from the back of the classroom shot at the kid to hit the pencil pack. He didn't
Okay.
hit it. He hit the whiteboard right next to him, but immediately caught my attention. I was like, this would have never happened in the US. This is great.
That's so cool.
It showed to me like the kids are dedicated with what they want to do. They're very school oriented,
Yeah.
which I loved. I thought this was great. I was like, this is what I was.
Right. That's so cool. I would have loved to see more presentations like that.
Oh yeah, me too.
So, how did you find yourself being able to fit in with your German peers? How were you? What did you do to make friends?
I actually have two separate groups of friends that I
Okay.
actually really adore.
Yeah.
So the area I live in, I guess you could say it's more like a neighborhood.
Hmm.
Everybody here knows everyone.
Okay.
And my host mom has this friend that she's known since high school
Oh,
who has a daughter who was my age when I first arrived.
okay.
And she had been talking to her about, ever since they found that I was going to be their host child, she had been talking to her about me.
Hmm.
And so when I think this was a week or two after I arrived and after I've kind of settled, she told me, she's like, she would love to meet you. Do you want me to give you your number? I said, sure. And we started talking.
Hmm.
And she walked up to the house. We went on a walk. We talked. And she has been amazing at inviting me to go out to all these different things,
Yeah.
especially German parties, which I had never done before.
Okay.
But she's so sweet and just helping me be included in all these things.
Yeah.
He introduced me to her brother and then later on her neighbor, which is one of her best friends. And later on another friend of hers, and then her and those two friends have been super sweet and keeping an eye on me, teaching me about German culture. Currently, they are preparing a playlist for me with all the most popular German songs because I need to learn these. So they have been just so wonderful and just including me in all this. And if I ever felt that if I ever feel out of place, especially in big settings when it's a lot of the language, it's hard to actually get into conversations and actually get involved because you don't know where to go.
Yeah.
They're very nice in the sense that they often either come themselves and talk to me and find a way to kind of get me into the conversation. Or they have somebody else come and like introduce me and they're like, hey, this is the American exchange student I told you about. Come and meet her. And that's helped me feel a lot more comfortable with them and with meeting new people.
Yeah.
And then in school, because they all go to different schools. So we don't go to school together, unfortunately.
Okay.
But in school, my first day, this one really sweet girl actually came up to me and offered if I wanted to sit next to her because I was like, I was so nervous. I was like, I don't know anybody. I don't know the structure. My first day of school was very hectic because they did not give me a schedule.
Oh.
At all. They just gave me a paper like, here's your room number, go. I'm like, okay, sure. So I went up to my classroom. And she offered to let me sit next to her. As soon as she found out I was American, she was very excited, asking me a bunch of crazy questions. Like, is it true that you have yellow school buses? I'm like, yeah. You gotta love the yellow school buses. But when the bell rang that first day for your next class, she goes, what's your next class? I was like, I have no idea. I was not given a schedule. So the teacher sent me back to the office. And I found out that they had put me in a Spanish class, but not a French class. I had personally asked for a French class because, again, I speak Spanish and I was like, I want to keep practicing my French while I'm here. And so I still don't know fully what happened because, again, my German was very, very limited that day. Yeah. They switched my entire schedule. Oh, no. And I ended up in a completely different class to the one where I was with the girl I had met.
No.
And they just sat me next to this one girl in my new class. And I was like, okay, hi. She was super sweet. And every time I would whisper and ask her what's going on or what am I missing here, she always tried to translate and help me. And now she's become one of my closest friends. And later on, she introduced me to other friends that I have very dear to. And that new friend that I got introduced to told me she has a best friend who was currently at the time doing an exchange in Canada. So she kind of understood my situation. So she was very sweet, including me, welcoming me into the group. And then when her friend came back, she was just as welcoming and just as sweet, immediately happy to meet me because her friend was talking about me as well. So it's two different groups, but all of them were extremely welcoming and were very, very nice and extremely understanding in that sense because they knew that it was a struggle and that this was a big deal for me.
It's so wonderful that you had so many people there to welcome you and support you and make you feel at home in a new home. For exchange students who may not get that level of welcoming or those people like that, do you have any advice for them to try to create that sense of welcoming and friendliness on their own?
Honestly, I can just say, just start with a hi, really. Yeah. Just start introducing yourself. Trust me, they love it when you say you're from America because then that's an instant conversation starter. But I was lucky enough, a lot of these kids came to me first and actually were interested in introducing themselves to me. But as scary as it's going to be, a simple hi, a simple introduction goes a long way. So just try, especially if it's the next door neighbor or somebody who's just sitting next to you in class. They will be very understanding is what I've come to realize.
I mean, you're already trying a whole new culture, a whole new country. Why not try getting to know someone?
Right.
So what were some new things, like new activities or traditions or maybe even foods that you got to try while you were in Germany?
Oh, God. Well, the pretzel seems like a very clear one. But yeah, my friends joke a lot about their bread compared to the U.S. bread. And after living here for so long, I have to agree now. Clearly, their bread here is a lot better. I've now told my dad that when I come back home, we need to find a local bakery because there's no way we're going back to store-bought bread. But living here in Bavaria, this is the area that most people in the US know about. this is the place where if you think of Germany and you come up with the German stereotypes, this is the place you think about.
Gotcha.
So, of course, I saw the Lederhosen.
Mm-hmm.
I saw the girls' traditional dresses called the dirndl.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very excited that I got my very own dirndl.
Oh, cool.
When I first arrived and I saw these, I told my host parents, I said, by the time this year's over, I'm gonna buy myself a dirndl. I'm gonna start saving money every month.
Mm-hmm.
And my birthday was in September, so I arrived beginning of September. My birthday was September 27th.
Mm-hmm.
And my host parents were extremely generous and surprised me with getting me my own dirndl themselves, which meant a lot. So I think 2 weeks or so after my birthday, I went shopping with my host mom and I got myself a traditional German dirndl. And that was the one thing I was so excited about. And I've been so excited every moment I get to wear it. I get very excited.
Yeah.
So that's probably one of my favorite things here is the traditional clothing and getting to wear that dirndl.
Gotcha. And with the dirndl and the traditional clothing, there's quite a bit of symbolism in it, if I'm not mistaken. Could you explain a little bit about it?
So if your dirndl has a bow in it, if you have a ribbon that you tie, I actually found this out and it was very interesting. You can actually show your relationship status based on where you put the bow. So if I'm not wrong, if the bow's on the left, it means you're single, because actually I've realized here Germans actually put their wedding band on their right hand instead of their left. At least that's how I've seen it down here in Bavaria. Yeah. So if it's on the left, it shows that you are single. If it's on the right, you are married or in a relationship. Mm-hmm. If it's in the middle, if I'm not wrong, you're widowed. Okay. And then if you put it in the back, if you tie it in the back, it's for waitresses and for younger kids.
Gotcha. Okay.
Which I thought was so interesting to learn. I was like, this is great. You just report your relationship status to everybody now.
Right. There it is.
Yeah.
Nothing to question. It's right there.
Yeah, which I thought was so great and so
fun. I like that. Yeah. It makes it very clear, to the point, who to talk to if you're looking for a romantic partner, things like that. That's great. Yeah. And you had mentioned the wedding bands on the right hand and the traditional clothing. Were there any other elements of German culture that surprised you?
I mean, if you mentioned the drinking, I guess
it's part of it.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't too surprised. Obviously, one of the things that people think about is the beer when you think of Germany. Yeah. And I guess one of the things that you notice is the way they handle teaching people about alcohol here. Okay. Which is very interesting to see. It didn't surprise me because my parents grew up with something similar in Colombia. Mm-hmm. But in Germany, you can drink beer at 16, I believe. But you can drink hard liquor at 18. Okay. So it was very interesting to see because during that time, you actually see families teaching their children about alcohol and how to handle it. So by the time they reach 18, 19, they know how to handle it and they know their limits. Yeah. I personally don't drink, of course, but it was very interesting to see that, especially when I started going to parties with my friends. Mm-hmm. It was the first time I think I saw people my age drinking. It felt a little weird, I'll be honest, because I'm not used to seeing that. Right. But at the same time, I was like, they can handle this. Okay, this is interesting. Gotcha. Nice. Yeah.
Slip into spokesperson legal mode real quick. YFU does not support underage drinking. We do not encourage it. It is not allowed. That does not happen on program. Okay.
Nope. Nope, does not happen. It was just, trust me, and I've made it clear with my friends and they completely respect it. Yeah. But it's an interesting thing to see from a foreigner's point of view, so.
Right, especially since it's not allowed until you are 21 here in the United States. So in my experience and seeing it from other people's perspective, it feels almost revered in a way. Like, oh my gosh, I cannot wait until I'm 21 and then I get to have this magical thing and it's going to be so great. Yeah. And I see, and I'm sure you've seen too, where people tend to get way overboard because they don't know their limits and they don't know because this is their first time.
Yeah. So I've talked about this with my parents back home as well, because actually in Colombia, the legal drinking age and all that is very similar to how it is here in Germany. I don't know the specifics. Yeah. So I've talked to them about this. So I wasn't too surprised when I got here. Yeah. But to actually see it, that's something different. Yeah. But I respected it. That was one of the things you learn about when you're here and when you're experiencing a new culture. You respect what they do, but you keep an open mind about it. Yeah. I've learned since being here in Germany, first of all, obviously accept alcohol, to just say yes to everything. Try everything you can, try every new experience. I've done a lot of hiking in this exchange, which I never did back home. Then again, it's Iowa. Iowa is completely flat.
Yeah.
But I've absolutely fell in love with hiking, especially in like forest areas
Yeah.
and anywhere that's just gorgeous. So you just have to try new experiences. You have to try all that and just, yeah. Even if you think it's going to be a little bit scary, even if you think you don't know what is going to happen and you don't have the right tools at the moment for this, especially if you find those good friends who will help you with that, try it.
Yeah, absolutely. I keep hearing hiking come up with our students from Germany or who have gone to Germany. That sounds something like very common in German culture. And you got to try it out. So were there other things that you got to try out?
I mean, I'm trying to think.
That's okay.
I guess you could say just going out and trying out, I guess, German parties was one thing.
Okay.
I personally barely went out when I was back in the US.
Well, yeah, you were too busy with work graduating early.
Well, yeah, I was too busy.
Yeah.
But even then, like the type of parties I've experienced here is not the type of parties I would have ever experienced, or I probably don't think would have experienced this until college.
Okay.
And it was very interesting. Like my friend would call me up and be like, "Hey, I'm having friends over. We're going to hang out, play board games." Sure. And we could do something as quiet as that.
Yeah.
Or we'd go to a party where we get to wear our dirndls and our lederhosen and have fun with that. So I guess just the overall social interaction, the social hangouts were just something new that I got to experience for the first time, and I really, really enjoyed it. So
that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where's been your favorite place to hike so far, since hiking is so big in Germany?
So far at the moment is when I went to Neuschwanstein, which is I guess you could say like the OG Disney castle.
Gotcha.
It's the castle that everybody knows because it's the Cinderella castle.
Okay.
But I remember I'd been wanting to go. I think 2 hours away by car. And my host family took me, and it's like a 3-hour hike up if you choose to do it. There's a shorter hike if you wanted to, or you could take a car or something. But there's a 3-hour hike up, and I loved it. I was tired by the end of it, but I didn't care.
Yeah.
Because the lake was gorgeous, the mountains, you could see the castle in the distance. Oh my gosh, it was amazing. I loved it so much.
Awesome. So during your exchange experience, obviously it's not always sunshine and rainbows all the time. I'm sure you've had to experience some challenges and have to overcome them. What were some of the challenges that you experienced while on exchange, and what did you do to overcome them and triumph over them?
Definitely the language is a big thing. I think now at the moment, I am not 100% sure what's the level of the language I am on exactly. All I can say is that I have enough German to get me around a town and the train station. That is more than enough at the moment.
There you go.
But when I first started out, the language obviously played a big role. I was fortunate enough to have a host family that spoke English and was able to understand me if I needed something. But going out to school, hanging out with my friends, it was always a struggle. But my friends were so supportive and would help me if I didn't understand something. They always encouraged me to try and speak in German with them, just try and say something. And at school, like I said, because I graduated, I don't have to worry about grades. So the teachers understand. In a few of my classes, I just sit there and they let me just listen, just try and get as much German as I can just by listening, which actually has done a lot.
Yeah.
So, and obviously I still do Duolingo every night, or else that owl will get me. So,
exactly.
So I still do my classes with my host families, especially towards the beginning. We used to have these German days. So every Saturday I would speak solely in German with them. I would do my best. Like they would wait for me to do it. I would ask for help. We used to call my host sisters the German police because if they caught me speaking in English, they would stop me immediately and make me switch back. They were very supportive about that, especially because my youngest host sister doesn't really speak English, and my oldest one, she's 13. She can speak a little bit of English. So if I really wanted to communicate with them, I would pretty much force the German out. I would try and speak as much in German as I could with them. Now they understand a little bit more English. Yeah. But still, every time I talk to them, I try and throw out a little bit of German, and they are more than happy to correct me if I need to.
Yeah. It truly takes a village. No matter where you are in the world.
Really does.
That's awesome. And with the little host sisters, how has that relationship been with them, and how have you connected with them even though they're much younger than you?
Yeah, so of course it's a big adjustment for them.
Yeah.
suddenly having a stranger in their house
Right.
who is speaking a foreign language,
Mm-hmm.
and is definitely older than them.
Yeah.
So obviously I emailed with them back and forth before I came,
Mm-hmm.
and I found some things out about them to try and help me connect. So for example, my oldest host sister, she loves to bake.
Oh.
I am personally not a baker.
Mm-hmm.
I can only follow those store-bought recipe cupcake boxes or whatever. And then my youngest loves Harry Potter. So
Nice.
I'm a big Harry Potter fan. So I was very happy to connect with her in that. So as it is said, obviously in the organization, they encourage us to bring gifts for our host family.
Mm-hmm.
So when I came here, I brought my oldest host sister this recipe book for these gourmet cupcakes in English.
Yeah.
And my goal with her was every weekend, I want to bake something with you, but I want to do one weekend where we do an English recipe and I will help you with English because she was studying English at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next weekend, you teach me a recipe in German.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
then
that's
obviously
cool.
with the youngest, I did my best to kind of connect with Harry Potter and all
Mm-hmm.
that with her.
Yeah.
So we haven't baked in a while, but we've mostly been baking from the cupcake recipe book.
Yeah.
And she taught me this recipe for these cinnamon rolls
Oh.
that have been my favorite thing I've made with her. And we haven't made them since I first arrived because we've stuck with the cupcakes.
Yeah.
So next weekend, actually, she and I were going to make them one more time.
Yeah.
So she can fully teach me the recipe so I can hopefully make them at home. Probably not as good as her, but yeah.
At least give it a shot. That's so cool.
Yeah.
It's really, really great to see how you took that first step to try to bond with them and try to find and connect with them on common interests. That's really a great piece of advice for a student who may be joining a family like you did. How has your perspective changed on the United States since being on exchange in Germany?
I mean, I love the fact that Germans, or at least anybody from another country that's not from the US, are very honest about the US mistakes or anything that has been going on.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, not to get political, personally, a lot of things that have been happening, I don't agree with.
Mm-hmm.
So that has actually helped a little bit in that sense when talking about it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it helps because when my German friends see me, or when anybody here that I don't know sees me and I tell them I'm an American, it kind of shifts their view on the US.
Yeah.
They realize that maybe everything they've learned about the US is not 100% true, even though most of the questions my friends have asked me have been true. But it's like, I've gotten asked, like, do you really have cheerleaders? I'm like, yes, we have cheerleaders.
Yes.
But actually, one of my friends recently he said something along the lines of, he's not undermining the fact that I deserve the scholarship, but why did I come on this exchange to represent the US if I'm completely different to what they thought the US was? And I told him I got sent here for that exact reason. Because you guys have this pre-made thought of what Americans are, what people from the US are like.
Yeah.
You think everyone is very ignorant, very mediocre, that we don't know anything, that we don't make an effort to learn a new culture, learn new languages. Yeah. But since they've met me, they've realized, like, I'm very well educated. I'm making an effort to learn about your culture. They were very shocked when I told them I spoke 3 languages.
Yeah.
So I said, because you tell me this, because you realize this, shows me that I did my job right when coming here. Yeah. You changed your perspective in a way about Americans when you see that I'm not like all of them, like you think.
Yeah.
I'm different, but that doesn't make me less American.
Right. I think that's a really mature and honest and inspiring way to take on that and think about that ambassador role that you play as an exchange student. And how would you say your perspective on Germany has changed since living there for this time?
I love it, honestly.
Yeah.
I didn't know a lot about Germany. I did a little bit of reading, mostly on a bunch of castles and places like that.
Yeah.
It's funny because when I came, a lot of German friends started asking me what was my first thought of Germany. Like, if they said Germany, what was the first thing that came to my head? Honestly, for me, it was pretzels, beer, and lederhosen. And being in Bavaria, that kind of tracks. That kind of worked out.
Yeah.
But what surprised them was the fact that I didn't say Hitler first.
Interesting. Okay.
I was like, yeah, I don't think that. I was like, yeah, he's part of history and all that. But that was not my first thought when I came to Germany.
Yeah.
And I guess that's I guess, yeah. So for me, because I came to Bavaria, I guess you want to say the stereotypical things that people think about.
Mhm.
But really, I just saw just an amazing culture
Yeah.
with amazing people. So my perspective on Germany has pretty much stayed the same since I first arrived, that it's just an amazing country.
That's fantastic. And for somebody who may be considering going on exchange or trying out a new culture, do you have any advice for them?
Honestly, go for it. This exchange has been amazing for me. It really has been life changing. You change your whole perspective when you live in a different way, in a different culture. You understand people better. You understand people's opinions a bit better. This has helped me so that when I go back to the US, I bring, and like I said, I bring a whole new perspective, a whole new way to think after being here in Germany. And it helps you become more empathetic towards people because not everyone is the same. And I feel that especially right now with how everything has been in the US, people struggle to understand that.
Yeah.
People struggle that just because you are different, that could necessarily be wrong. And that is not the case. And being in Germany here, I've embraced more of who I am. I've become proud to show who I am. And yeah, this exchange has helped me do that. So if you want to do an exchange, absolutely go for it. It's going to be an amazing experience for you if you decide to do it.
And for a family who may be considering hosting an exchange student, what would you have to say to them?
Definitely really, really think about if you want to do it.
Okay.
It is a big decision to get an exchange student. You have to understand that this is a big change for them, that this is going to be overwhelming. You need to just be someone that they can lean on, somebody they can trust to talk to when they need to. And we'd love that. If you feel like you fit that criteria and you are more than happy to host an exchange student, we would love that because we are running short, unfortunately, on host families. So yeah, if you feel like you are ready to take in a teenager for a full year and you're ready to be there for them because they will need you, absolutely do it.
Have you ever thought about bringing the world into your home?
With YFU USA, hey, that's us. You can. By hosting an exchange student, you'll experience a new culture right in your own home.
It's an incredible opportunity to make lifelong connections and help a young student discover the American way of life.
Visit yfuusa.org to learn more about how you can become a host family today. And what is next for you after this is all said and done? No more high school.
No more high school, no. I actually applied to college before coming, and I got accepted while I was at the language camp. So
congratulations!
There's the next step. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Yeah, so that's the next step for me. So I'm very excited for that.
Great. Do you have any idea what you're going to major in, or just trying
Yes,
to figure
actually,
it out?
I have my major and everything. I'm going to be majoring in English and creative writing at the University of Iowa.
Awesome. That's fantastic.
I hope to become a writer and maybe, hopefully in the future, become a lawyer, specifically with human rights. So I'm very excited about that.
Wonderful. I think you have an amazingly bright future ahead of you. You're a very hard worker, a big achiever, and I can only see your success going up. That's amazing. I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
For people who want to keep up with what you're up to, how can they stay connected? Where can they follow you?
Yeah, sure. So I have actually a German account on Instagram, and that account is public. So if people want to follow me there, they can see all my adventures here in Germany, and they can personally DM me through that account if they have any questions. I'm more than happy to answer them.
Perfect. That's great. And thank you for being there to answer questions and help people with potentially deciding to go on exchange.
Yes, of course.
My final question, is there a great story or memory that we didn't get to touch on that you would like to share?
Oh God, there are too many. Probably, I want to say, I guess one of the great ones that I'm currently still really happy about was a recent one. As you know, for CBYX, we work along with the German Bundestag. And so about a week ago, I got the chance to go to the German Bundestag.
Oh, wow.
I got to watch a session of the parliament. The president of the Bundestag actually introduced us. I got to meet all 320 students, so we were all in there watching.
Yeah.
And we saw the chancellor walk in too, which was great.
Wow.
And I actually ended up meeting with my area representative, and I met with him, I want to say 3 hours. We talked a lot.
Oh my goodness.
That day, it was very special to me, not just because it's crazy to think you're at the German Bundestag. I'm 18 and I'm at the German Bundestag. I watched the session of parliament. but also because with my host family, about a year ago, they had gone to the German Bundestag, had seen a member of parliament talk about the benefits of having an exchange student. And that's kind of what inspired them to take in an exchange student.
Yeah.
And they were actually in the same area where I was when they saw him talk. So for me, this was a full circle moment.
Yeah.
Because had they not gone, had they not listened to this, I don't know if I would be here. I would have the same experience I had here. So it meant a lot to me that day when I went, not just because of the impact of it, of being in the Bundestag, but also the fact that like I said, it's a full circle moment. This is the end. Like I'm finishing this incredible journey at that moment.
That's an unforgettable moment. That's got in
Yeah.
full circle. It really it's a wonderful close to this great chapter in your life. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that also means we have reached the end of this chapter of this podcast. But Gabriela, I just want to thank you so much for your time and sharing your stories with us today. It's been so great to talk to you and get to know you a bit more. And it's just been great.
Thank you so much for having me. This was wonderful.
Awesome. And that is all for this episode of Life Exchange, Stories of Understanding. I have been your host, Kelsey Ross, and until next time, see you later. Bye.
Listen to Life Exchange, Stories of Understanding now on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.